Hi, this is Hank Cover with ExtraPointFootball.com. This week's Try This is going to take a look at the divisional playoff game between the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. The first time these two teams met this season was a 28-14 victory for the Jets, but the Patriots responded by blowing them out of the water 45-3 the next time these two teams played against each other. Now, because that game came right on the heels of the Jets losing safety Jim Leonard, who was responsible for making all the on-field defensive adjustments, this game isn't likely to be a blowout of that scale. However, the Jets' defense's biggest weakness is their linebackers' struggle in pass coverage. Now, the Patriots are sure to exploit this with the two tight end sets that have become a major staple of their offense this year. For that reason, the Jets are best suited to maintain possession of the ball and sustain long drives by running the ball, similar to the formula they used against the Indianapolis Colts in their upset victory last week. The key to doing this will be receiver and return specialist Brad Smith. Smith, a former quarterback at the University of Missouri, was the first player in Division 1A football history to pass for 8,000 yards and run for 4,000 yards in his career, and was drafted by the Jets in the 4th round of the 2006 NFL Draft. Since the start of his career, he has been used on a situational basis as a running back, quarterback, and receiver. Recently, he's been used in the Jets version of the Wildcat formation, but these formations have been very run-oriented, so teams have enjoyed a varying degree of success by run blitzing against them. Sometimes it works out well for them, other times not so much. It just depends on the strengths and weaknesses of the team they're matched up against. For this reason, I've drawn up a formation that allows the Jets to direct snap to Smith and still exploit the Patriots' defense through the air if they overcommit to defending against the run. This formation has Smith lined up in the pistol, approximately 2.5 yards behind the center, which is less deep than in the shotgun where it's 5 yards, but it gives him a little more time to read the defense than if he's directly under center, as he traditionally would do in a running formation. Now, this is a 22 personnel set, which is the nomenclature used to describe how many tight ends and running backs are on the field at any given time. The first digit always means how many running backs are on the field, and the second means how many tight ends. In this case, there's 2 running backs and 2 tight ends. Tight end Ben Hartsock is on the left side of the formation. He's more of a run blocker type player, so he's well suited for that. And then fullback John Connor is set back on Smith's right, and running back LaDainian Tomlinson is set back on his left. Tight end Dustin Keller, their pass-catching tight end, is on the right side of the line. And then Braylon Edwards, their biggest receiver who's built for run blocking, even though he has spectacular hands as well, is set back behind the line of scrimmage on the right side of the formation, making the right side of this formation the strong side. When the play starts, Smith will take the snap and turn 90 degrees to his right. And in this case, he has 2 options. The first of which is handing off to Connor, who can run up the left side of the offensive line, or he can keep it himself and he can run the option where he can either keep it and run to the outside, or he can pitch it to halfback LaDainian Tomlinson. Now, while the option will be more common, I'll explain the details of the handoff to Connor first, just to get that out of the way. Now, when Smith hands off to the fullback, John Connor, he will almost always run between the left guard and the left tackle. However, if the weak outside linebacker crashes inside in order to clog that hole, Connor can read that and bounce outside, and because he's unlike most fullbacks, who are the slow 3 yards in a cloud of dust type of running backs of the traditional old school football days, he has more speed than that. He can go outside and let the tight end then be free to take on the cornerback, and so he'll still have room to run for a gain. Now, on this play, the inside linebackers have to be very careful, because if they overcommit to one of the two options, whether it's the inside handoff or the outside option pitch, then they can be severely burned. So this does freeze the defense, giving the offense a bit of a numerical advantage because the inside linebackers are not a factor in the first few seconds of the play. If Smith decides not to hand off to Connor and he reads that the defense is too focused on the left side of the field, he can then move on to the outside option pitch, which is a very versatile play as well, simply because you've got so much athleticism headed outside that the defense, as well as having to contend with the possibility of Connor running up the gut, will also have to worry about all this athleticism getting outside, creating huge mismatches. The way this play works is Smith and Tomlinson both run to the right, and then the tight end Dustin Keller chips the outside linebacker and runs a route just 45 degrees to the right, and he goes underneath the strong safety. Now, if the strong safety comes up and crashes too hard, trying to break up this play, this run, Smith can immediately dump it off to him because he'll be wide open with Edwards taking on the corner. However, that can be a problem if the linebackers all run outside and vacate the inside. So the way to counteract this is these three run almost a sort of zone block situation where the right guard takes on whichever of these three defenders, the strong inside linebacker, the strong outside linebacker, and the defensive end. They take on whichever of the defenders is most inside when they rush. The right tackle takes on whoever's in the middle of those three, and the tight end can just chip whoever's on the outside, which will usually be the strong side linebacker. But if they run some sort of stunt where the inside linebacker loops around, this zone style block will be effective enough just to slow the rusher just enough that Smith and Tomlinson will be gone. This is where Smith has to read the strong safety, and his days of playing college football as a quarterback will come very much in handy, because he reads the safety, and if the safety looks like he's closer to Smith than he is to Tomlinson, Smith simply pitches it to Tomlinson. If it's the other way around, and the safety looks like he's about to light Tomlinson up, Smith can keep it himself and pull off a run. Now, if in order to counteract this, the defense just drops quite a few men at the run and completely come outside, then you have Keller able to run this route and get open, and Smith can dump it off to him. It's not a hard pass to execute, especially against the simplified defense that is forced to simplify its looks and reads because of all the three options on the play. Last but certainly not least comes my favorite part, the blocking assignments on this play. The most important aspects are the weak side defensive end and the weak inside linebacker. On both of these option plays, the blocking is the same, which makes it a lot harder for the defense to read the play based off of where a different lineman may be pulling or running to the outside. So the way it works is a zone style block, similar to what I described for the center, right guard, and right tackle on the option play, is the left tackle and the left guard look at the weak side defensive end and the weak side inside linebacker, and whichever one comes closest to the inside, the left guard picks up, and whichever one tries to rush it outside, the left tackle picks up. The one variable on this is the weak outside linebacker. He can crash inside or outside. That is where Connor makes his read when he gets the ball. If the linebacker goes inside, he goes outside, and vice versa. It's the same on the option, as I mentioned before. The center will usually take on the nose tackle, who's a pretty big guy in this case, Vincent Wilfork, one of the largest defensive tackles in the league, and he will have his hands full with that. The center will have his hands full, and the right guard, right tackle, and strong side tight end will look at where the strong inside linebacker, strong defensive end, and strong outside linebacker all rush. Whichever one comes the most inside, right guard picks up, second most inside, right tackle picks up, and then the furthest to the outside, the tight end just chip blocks and then runs his route and gets his free release. With this triple option set and the passing option from the pistol formation, the Jets could really play to their strengths while covering up for a lot of their weaknesses. You've got to remember, not only do you have all these options, but if the defense really creeps up, if this free safety comes in the box and stands right behind the linebackers, they can always audible into a basic tight end fly where he runs straight up the field, and there will be nobody covering him. So the defense has to be cautious and keep a man back. So when they run these running plays, they really have a numerical advantage because the free safety is not factored in when they run. So that makes a major advantage for the Jets, whose strength is already running the ball, makes them even more deadly at what they do, and uses their strength to kind of make up for their weakness on offense and simplify and make it easier for them to pass. So if the Jets did that, that would cover up a lot of their weaknesses and make them a lot more successful, keeping the ball out of opposing quarterbacks' hands, sustaining long drives, and getting into the end zone more frequently. That's all for this week. See you next week on Try This at extrapointfootball.com. I'm Hank Kobler.